Hey, good afternoon. My name's Chris Gunn, and once again, welcome to my channel, Chris Gunn's Bourbon Barrel Creations, where I talk about all things bourbon and my love of taking used bourbon barrels and whiskey barrels and converting them into furniture and various other things. So, um, what I want to talk about today is my trip down to 13th Colony yesterday. I've talked about this before. I have a deep-seated love for 13th Colony Distillery. And it almost borders on the level of fanboy. There's kind of a running joke between me and Sean, my friend from Echoes and Eternity Bourbon, that which one of us is the bigger fanboy of 13th Colony. Um, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. But for me, 13th Colony is where I go to get my bourbon barrels to build the stuff that I build. And I've got a couple of my buddies, Marshall and Lee. They've asked me to build some end tables for them, and I needed the barrels to build those end tables. So yesterday I decided to go down there. Now, I went down there yesterday, met up with Brian. Brian's the guy who always helps me out. Him and his wife, Megan. She runs the gift shop and does a lot of the tastings and stuff. And then Brian, he does pretty much the day-to-day operations. And it was kind of funny when I walked in there and told him I needed bourbon barrels. They had to go around the corner and get Brian, and when he walked around the corner, he just started laughing. He goes, "Oh, it's you again." And it's kind of a running joke with me and him because I come down there and get them so often. So we went out there, and Brian helped me out with getting me some barrels. And I've said this before, and I'll just kind of reiterate. I want 13th Colony to be successful because 13th Colony success equates to my success, because as long as they keep making good bourbon, I'll always have the ability to get barrels in my area. Now, if I lived up in Kentucky, I'm sure this wouldn't be a problem. I'd have my pick of distilleries. But down here in the Phoenix City, Columbus, Georgia area, it's not as easy to get barrels. I could get them up at John Emerald. I can get them at a couple other places. Short Barrel, if I need to get them, I can go up there and get them from Short Barrel. But for the most part, I've got a pretty good working relationship with 13th Colony, so that's where I try to always go. Now, the cool thing too was when I picked up the barrels yesterday, I needed some barrels because of what I was making, which is the end tables. I need barrels that the lids on them are about as flat as I can get them. Now, that's not always easy because the barrels are under an extreme amount of pressure. It's amazing to me that these coopers can do this, and I've one time before I really, really got into bourbon, before I ever started building anything, I had went up to Fort Knox, Kentucky on a trip for the Army, and I had a little bit of time to kill before I had to be down at Fort Knox. I flew into Louisville, so I went over to Old Forester, and I got the tour, and I just happened to be the only person that morning. So it was kind of a really cool tour because it was like a one-on-one tour between me and the tour guide. And she showed me how they made the barrels in-house, and it was just amazing to me that you got to take like a hydraulic press with a cable, and the cable just basically squeezes the barrel so the cooper can then slide the rings over it. And they're so skilled at their craft that they know the right combination of staves to put in there to get the right size barrel they need. And then they put the lid in there, and then they put the rings around it, and then they let the cable, they release the tension with the cable, and when they do that, the barrel just takes its natural shape. But when I told Brian yesterday that I needed barrels that had a really good flat top, and he had already brought me like 4 barrels out. He had a pile of barrels in there, and just so everybody knows, if you're in the market, you want to use whiskey barrel, 13th Colony is a great place to go because they've got them. And so he had brought some barrels out at first, and for the most part, he kind of knows what kind of barrels I go after. I go after the ones which I say they got character. They're the ones that, the bourbon seep through the wood. It's what me and Sean calls the bacon or the bourbon fat. It's the stains on the wood, and they just make the most beautiful like cabinets. But you got to be real careful with the lid, because if it gets to warps too much, your bottles won't set flat on top of it. And so when he brought me the first set of barrels out, and I looked at them, I said, Brian, I love them, but do you got anything that's a little bit cleaner for this particular project? And so he went in the back, he pulled 4 more barrels for me. He brought them back out. And I wanted the logos on them because, you know, the 13th Colony logo on top of the table is just absolutely beautiful. And those barrels didn't have the logos on them. He was like, no problem, don't worry about it. He pulls out his stencil, sticks it on top of the barrel, pulls out his little ink thing and his little roller, and he rolled it on top of the barrel for me, and perfect. All 4 of them, absolutely perfect. Got them in the garage now. I'm finishing up 4 rows of cabinet right now. As soon as I get done with that, I'm going to start on these 2 sets of end tables, matching end tables. So once again, my relationship with 13th Colony leads me to be a fanboy. And I take, I take great pride to say that they're just down-home people, and they don't get no better than those people down there. You know, Brian and Megan and everybody else. They just, every time I go down there, they genuinely have a smile on their face and look like they're happy to see me come down there. Now, yesterday ended up being quite a surprise for me. Now they've got a new tour. It's called Bottle Your Own Bourbon. I had been wanting to do it, but I just hadn't got around to doing it. And so when I got down there yesterday, Brian was kind of showing me the setup of where they had kind of built this immersion experience. And as soon as he showed it to me, I was like, and especially after he told me what was in the barrels, I was like, oh my, I have got to do this while I'm down here today. And so, you know, to kind of give you an idea of what it is, you know, you go on this tour and you get to taste various bourbons and ryes while you do the tour. And when you get through with the tour, they've got a bottle your own experience. And it's a bourbon and it's a rye. And you essentially take an empty bottle and they walk you through it. And I had seen this done at other distilleries, but I hadn't seen 13th Colony do it yet. And so, you know, you basically pull lever, and I've released a video, a short already that shows me doing it, but you release lever, it feels like a tube. Once the tube gets to a certain level, you stop the first lever, you throw the second one, you fill the bottle, then you take the bottle over to a stand, you put all the stickers on it and everything. Yes, here's the bottle. It is, I did the bourbon. Now, I'm not real sure that they're prepared for me to say online what's in this bottle, but I will tell you that this is a 4 finish blend. And once again, I don't believe it's my place to say what the 4 finishes are, but I'm telling you they're phenomenal because I've had this before. Brian had come to one of our bottle shares that Sean hosts up here in Columbus, and he brought the 4 blend that's in this bottle, and I had tried it, and I was like, absolutely. When he told me that that's what was in that barrel, I said I absolutely have got to get one of those bottles. And you know, they named it the Southern Picnic Bourbon, and it says on the neck label, it says Bottle Your Own, and then it's got the Southern Picnic Bourbon. So this is, I will say that this is 125 proof, and it's a 5-year, 1-month bourbon. Now, when I tell you it's got 4 different finishes in this bottle, I'll tell you it's not got amber on in it. Because my kind of first thought on it was it potentially could be like a cigar blend, but it does not have amber on in it. But I would tell you, if you get a chance to go down there and try it, you have got to try it because it is so good. The rye, I was trying to be good because after my trip to the Kentucky Bourbon Festival and the haul I brought home, I told my wife I'd try to be real good for the month of October and try not to buy, try to buy bottles, and I've already blown that out of the water. But I kind of wanted to get the rye too, but I didn't get it there. Now, when I got ready to leave, Brian after he helped me load my truck and I was starting to strap down the barrels, I was getting ready to leave. Brian said, "Hey, hold on a minute." And he went and pulled me a sample of the rye and gave me a sample to take. And the rye is a 125 proof, and it is a French oak and a maple finish, and it's called Waffle House Rye. Now, with that said, I do have that in this class, and so I'm going to do a quick review of that. I am of the mind, and I might be a little bit biased, or I might be a little bit completely off the norm on this one, but I believe that ryes accentuate better with the finish than a bourbon does. I don't know why it is, but I just believe that with my heart. And I do believe that 13th Colony, their ability to do a rye is like almost second to none. Now you can sit here and you can argue the point, well, do they make it in-house or do they, they get it from somewhere else? I don't care. I do not care. And I will not get in an argument with anybody because, good bourbon or good rye is just good bourbon and good rye to me. And if you can make it in-house, good for you. And if you can't, you have to get it from somewhere else. Well, you're probably not the only one in that boat. So once again, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But with this in particular, this particular rye, I do believe that the South Georgia heat and where they store these barrels, the heat down there does something to this rye, and it makes it like on a whole nother level. But for this particular rye, it's got some legs on it. You can see the oil in the glass, and you can see it. It's very slow running. It's not moving at any kind of pace, which tells me it's viscous. Now, do you have that peppery smell that you normally get with a rye? Absolutely. But I also get, which I'm sure is the maple and the French oak, I'm getting that kind of what I call that breakfast smell. Like, one thing I used to love about my grandmother, she'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and she would start banging pans together, and I always knew that was my chance to get up and go set with her. And I'd have her all to myself for at least a couple hours before anybody else come in the house to eat breakfast. But she'd be cooking breakfast. She'd be doing bacon or sausage, and she'd always do homemade biscuits in a cast iron skillet with she did sorghum molasses, and she had a big old jug of it. And it was just, for me, it was always a treat to pour it out in a on a plate and then sop my biscuits in it. Yeah, if you're not from the South, you probably don't know what the word sopping means, but it means to run your biscuit through, whatever. But this is like, smelling this is like being back in my grandmother's house. It's like all the smells that I associate with her kitchen in the morning. So let's try this. Oh my. Okay. I might be taking a trip back down to 13th Colony to get this bottle. That is breakfast in a glass. Now, the 13th Colony Double Oaked, the first time I ever had that, we always said that was like bacon with pancakes and maple syrup. This is more like this is like pancakes or French toast. This is probably more like French toast with maple syrup, with a side of sausage and like some cherry jelly. Yeah, that's it. Because you're getting, yeah, I'm smelling like stone fruit in this. Man, this is good. I'd have to say this is probably one of the best ryes I've had this year. Man, my wife's going to kill me, but I'm going to have to go back down there now. Knowing what's in that bottle, that bourbon bottle, and that being my first choice, I got to tell you, I've had 13th Colony's French Oak rye, And when we did Sean's pick, the Echoes and Eternity pick, there was 3 of us that wanted we wanted the rye, because at the time I hadn't seen a French oak rye finish come out. And since then they've released the cask strength. But man, this maple and this rye combined, good night, this is good. So anyway, to kind of wrap this all up, if you get a chance to go down to 13th Colony and you get a chance to do their Bottle Your Own Bourbon tour, I highly recommend it, because I don't know how long those 2 barrels are going to last, but they are straight bangers. And so I'll wrap it up here. And what I always like to say, if you've got a good pour and you got somebody you care about, hopefully you can share it with them and build those memories. And I will see you at the next one.